So here's an image of the exact scope used in this review. It's a March 2.5 to 25 by 42 compact rifle scope. It has the MTR4 reticle. So looking at the spec sheet, some of the same things stand out about the 2.5 to 25 as did the 1 to 10, and that is the 10-time magnification range. The 2.5 to 25 magnification range is an outstanding range for just about anything that most shooters are going to use a rifle scope for. It probably makes it, in my opinion, the most versatile of all the March scopes available. The compact size of the scope also adds to its versatility. It's only 12.36 inches long and a little over 1.25 pounds in weight. That makes it an ideal scope for smaller, compact bullpups, but it looks equally at home on more traditional rifles. There really isn't a gun that this scope doesn't fit to a T. The 30mm tube diameter gives the scope 100 MOA of elevation adjustment. This is more than enough to reach out to 100 plus yards in an air rifle. With a 20 MOA built-in rail, it's enough to reach out to 200 yards. And as mentioned in previous videos, this scope actually focuses down to 9 yards of minimum focus at 25x. Again, that's extremely important for air gunners who often are wanting to focus in and shoot at things that are closer than your traditional 50 or 25 yard minimum parallax. So as we roll through some video taken through the scope, let me give a disclaimer. Nothing you see here is anywhere near as good as it actually looks through the March scope. This is definitely the most important part of the review, and it's by far the hardest to actually get on film. There's basically, the film you're seeing is taken through a Tacticam, and by the time the image goes through the prisms of the Tacticam and the less than perfect quality camera of the Tacticam, aberration gets added in. Color gets changed. It's just not near the quality that you actually see when you look through the March scope. In fact, I almost debate not showing the images through the Tacticam because they're just not nearly as crisp and clear as what your actual eye sees when you look through the scope. Having said that, you gotta have something on clarity for all these scope reviews, but unfortunately I can't show you what it actually looks like. I can only do my best to explain it, and you're going to have to take my opinion versus actually getting the first-hand experience. The March scope going from 2.5 to 10 has got the same crystal clear clarity as the 1 to 10 does. You don't really see any aberration, any fuzziness in the image all the way up to 10x. The glass is as good as you can get in those magnification ranges. However, when you do get up to 25x, you do start noticing a little bit of fuzziness, a little bit of aberration. The glass is on par with all other Tier 1 scopes. It's not any better or worse than the Schmidt & Bender 5 to 20 Ultra Short that I looked through, the Leupold Mark V 3 to 18, or the Collis 3 to 18i that I had. It's top Tier 1 quality glass. The advantage the March has over all those scopes is that it actually zooms up to a magnification range of 25, where the other ones maxed out at 20 or usually 18, but in the Schmidt's case it went up to 20. One thing I'd like to point out is I also used to own a 3 to 24 version of this same scope, and the 3 to 24 version had some distortion around the outside of the image when it was at the very low magnifications of 3 and 4x that the 2.5 to 25 does not have at all. So for that reason alone, if that's something that would bother you, and for the money it did kind of bother me, I would recommend getting the 2.5 to 25, not only for the extra magnification range, but to eliminate that little bit of distortion that you would see around especially the 3x magnification. If you like positive clicks, then the March brand is the brand for you. These turrets have the least amount of play between clicks of any brand that I've come across. And so what I do is I grab onto the turret and I rock them back and forth, trying to see how much play there is before it clicks from one click to the next. And to quantify the March brand, they're never more than 1/8 of a click of play in the turrets. So having said that, if there's one feature of a rifle scope that's overrated, it's got to be positive clicks. I read somewhere on the internet, and I know you can't believe everything you read on the internet, but I do believe this, is that the fascination with positive, clicking turrets dates back to the very beginning of scope manufacture. Apparently it was a sign of reliability, where if you had turrets that were really positive clicking, it meant that the components that the turret was made out of were high quality and likely to last for a really long time. And that makes sense to me, because for the life of me, I don't really know what the fascination of positive turrets would be if not for something like that. Positive clicks might not be a big deal, but elevation and windage tracking is crucial. You'd expect all high-dollar scopes to ace this important step, but if you test them, you're likely to be disappointed. Here I am testing the March through the Tacticam. I've used calipers to draw 1.047-inch squares on a box. The box has been leveled and the gun has been leveled. The box is placed 25 yards away. That means it'll take 16 clicks instead of 4 clicks for the crosshair to move from line to line. 16 clicks is the equivalent to 4 MOA. So this is for the elevation. You can see it's all along that one line there. 16 clicks up. That's 16 clicks up. Another 16 clicks up. Another 16 clicks up. Another 16 clicks up. And one more, 16 clicks up. Okay, I'm not looking through the scope, so I can't really tell. Now I'm going to go all the way back down to 0. Hopefully I haven't moved my gun at all. One more click. There you go. And hopefully looking at it, it's at the 0. That's the 0. Okay, so 4 MOA should be that next line. That's 4 MOA. Okay. Next line should be at 8 MOA. Okay. Next line should be at 12 MOA. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to go back to 0. Alright, should be back to the start. This MTR4 reticle is a second focal plane reticle, which means it stays the same size no matter the magnification that you've got the scope set for. This is really useful if you're a turret dialer like I am. The reticle stays nice and useful throughout the magnification range. However, if you use holdovers and hold unders, you need to know exactly how much each of the marks on the reticle equate to in distance. On this March scope, each of those lines is calibrated at 10x, and each line is 2 MOA. That means if you zoom on to 20x, each of those lines jumps up to 1 OMA. And at maximum 25x, well, the 5 MOA lines actually represent 4 MOA. There really aren't too many top tier scopes that are in the same league as the 2.5 to 25 by 42 March. especially when you consider the March also has a slightly bigger brother that has a 52mm objective. That scope would be even better if you were going to use it for hunting. It'll have better low light capabilities. Also, it comes with an illuminated reticle if you'd prefer. The only other scope that's even caught my interest is a relatively new scope from Nightforce. It's their NX8 series. Now, full disclosure, I've never bought or even looked through this Nightforce scope, but if I was looking for an alternative to the March, this is really the only one that I think I would even consider. Reason being, you'll notice it has a minimum focus range of 11 yards, which is really dang close to the March's 9 yards. It doesn't have as good of magnification range. It only maxes out at 20x, and it's quite a bit heavier than the March, but it is a little bit shorter, and it comes with illumination. In fact, in addition to illumination, it's also got a 50mm objective bell. So for basically the same price, it's probably a better hunting scope than the March is. As a more target-oriented shooter, I still prefer the March. I think the 5x magnification difference is significant, and I really prefer the reticles of the March. I've never looked through the Nightforce, so I don't know if there's any tunneling throughout the magnification range or distortion like the 3 to 24 March I had at the lower magnification ranges. It might be an amazing scope, but I know for a fact that the March 2.5 to 25 is pretty much flawless. So I don't personally have a reason to buy the Nightforce and give it a try. In summary, I view the March 2.5 to 25 as the perfect air rifle scope. Its compact size will fit any gun you want to match it to. It's got plenty of adjustment range, crystal clear glass, turrets that are perfect at tracking, and that is extremely rare. That's another thing that maybe the Nightforce probably wouldn't be perfect at. The March has a variety of reticles to choose from, comes in MOA or mil versions. In fact, in order to get a better scope, you might have to look at a bigger scope from March, which is the subject of my next review, the 5 to 40 by 56.